In a time long ago, when men walked with swords at their belts and the world was still ripe with magic, there was a boy who would grow to become a legend. His name was Siegfried, and though he was born of humble origins, his story would echo through the ages, whispered in the halls of kings and sung by minstrels beneath the stars. The tale begins in the shadow of a great forest, near the village where Siegfried grew up. His father, a blacksmith, was a hard but loving man who forged not only steel, but the spirit of his son. From a young age, Siegfried was fascinated by tales of heroism. Knights who braved the unknown, warriors who wrestled giants, and most of all, those who slew the massive fire-breathing beasts, the dragons. To Siegfried, nothing symbolized courage and honor more than the idea of standing before such a creature, undaunted and emerging victorious. But Siegfried's encounters with dragons were more than childhood fantasies. For deep within the craggy mountains that loomed above their village, there lived a terror unmatched, a dragon named Fafnir. No one knew exactly where Fafnir had come from. Some said he was once a greedy man cursed by the gods, transformed into a beast to guard the treasures of ages past. Others believed he emerged from the earth itself, a fiery guardian of the world's deepest secrets. When Siegfried was but a boy, Fafnir's shadow fell over his village. Though the dragon did not linger, the destruction it left in its wake was seared into Siegfried's heart. Homes were burned, families broken, and the fields that sustained them charred beyond salvation. Siegfried vowed, even then, that one day he would face the beast, not for glory, but to ensure no one else would endure what he had seen. Years passed, and Siegfried grew into a man both strong and skilled. For hours each day, he trained under his father's guidance, turning plowshares into blades and hammering steel into weapons of great beauty and resilience. But Siegfried didn't only train in the forge. He hunted in the forests, ran with wolves, and climbed mountains to temper his body and his spirit. By the time he came of age, his name was whispered with awe, not for deeds done, but for the promise of the hero he could become. One fateful day, as the villagers huddled around the fire, news came of a neighboring town's destruction. The messenger, breathless and wide-eyed, shared the grim truth. Fafnir had returned to his rampage, spreading destruction in search of ever greater riches. The elders debated, wringing their hands and speaking of offerings they could leave to appease the beast. But Siegfried stood silently at the edge of the group, listening.
"We must not appease the dragon," he said, his voice like the ring of steel. "We must end it."
For a moment, the room was silent. Then came the objections. The dragon was too powerful. The magic that protected it was unbreakable. Siegfried, for all his strength, was just one man. But his resolve was unshaken. Where they saw an impossible challenge, he saw his destiny. And so, with the blessing of his father and the hopes of his village upon his shoulders, Siegfried embarked on a journey to the mountains, toward the lair of Fafnir. The road was long and treacherous. The closer he came to Fafnir's domain, the more the land bore the dragon's scars. Blackened forests stood like the skeletons of long-forgotten giants, rivers hissed with sulphur, and even the animals avoided the path. But Siegfried pressed on, his heart steady and his determination unyielding. At last, he came upon a cave etched into the mountainside, its mouth yawning like the maw of a great beast. A warm wind blew from within, carrying with it the unmistakable stench of fire and decay. Siegfried's hand tightened around his sword, a masterpiece he had forged himself. The blade gleamed with a faint blue hue, a mark of the enchantments woven into its steel. He had named it Balmung, a weapon worthy of a hero. But before Siegfried could step into the cave, he encountered an old hermit sitting by the path. The man was cloaked in rags, his face hidden beneath a hood, but his voice carried a wisdom Siegfried could not ignore.
"Are you here to face the dragon, boy?" "I am." "Then heed my warning. Fafnir is no ordinary beast. His strength comes not only from his size and fire, but from the greed that fuels him. Strike him not with fear, but with purpose, and you may yet prevail."
With those cryptic words, the hermit handed Siegfried a small vial of glimmering liquid. Siegfried thanked the hermit and stepped into the cave. Inside, the air was thick and oppressive, like the weight of the mountain itself pressing down on his shoulders. The light of his torch danced across piles of gold, gemstones, and artifacts scattered across the cavern floor, but Siegfried paid them no heed. His focus was on the rhythmic thrum that filled the chamber, a deep, resonant sound like a forge's bellows. It was the sound of Fafnir breathing. Suddenly, the dragon emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing like molten embers. Its scales shimmered with an unnatural light, the immovable armor of a creature that feared no weapon. Its maw opened, revealing rows of dagger-like teeth, and with a roar that shook the earth, it charged. The battle was like a storm. Siegfried dodged jets of flame that turned the air to fire, his blade ringing out as it struck Fafnir's scales again and again, seeking a weakness. The beast was impossibly fast for its size, its tail sweeping through the air, claws tearing at the ground. Every moment was a test of Siegfried's strength, skill, and sheer will. And then he remembered the hermit's words. Strike not with fear, but with purpose. Siegfried took a calming breath and coated Balmung with the Yggdrasil sap. He focused, searching the beast for an opening, until finally he saw it, a patch beneath its forearm where the scales were thinner. Timing his strike with precision born of years of training, Siegfried lunged forward and plunged Balmung deep into Fafnir's flesh. The dragon let out a deafening roar, its body convulsing as fire spewed skyward, but Siegfried did not falter, with strength he didn't know. Siegfried remained steadfast, driven by a purpose greater than himself. In that moment, he became the hero he was destined to be.